So good morning, everyone. For those of you I don't know, my name is Peter Scheer. I chair the Mid-Atlantic region for JP Morgan Chase, which is everything from Richmond up to Philly. But I will tell you, Baltimore has a very special place in my heart. I want to also welcome those who are watching online. I'm just so thrilled to be here with our business leaders and government leaders and our community leaders. I'm just thrilled to be with people. So thank you all for coming out. I want to thank Mayor Scott for joining us, who you'll hear from in a moment, and Deputy Mayor Faith Leach, one of my personal heroes. Thank you, Faith, for being here. Baltimore is such a vibrant community, and it is one of enormous opportunity. And when you think about this broader region, which Baltimore is a part of, it's the third largest economic region in the United States, the seventh largest in the world. We as a bank see enormous opportunity in this region, which is why we continue to invest and grow our business. But we also see the challenges in this region as well. Like too many communities throughout this region, throughout the country, we see the deep disparities. We see the inequities in health and education and housing. This city has 15,000 vacant properties, which tears at the fabric of these neighborhoods. 2/3 of Black, Hispanic, and Latino households are now living in poverty. It's not sustainable for this community. It's not sustainable for our country. It's not sustainable for humanity to have these kind of disparities. And as a business, we know that our well-being is tied to the growth of the community and all of its residents. While we've operated in this region for more than 20 years, back in 2018, we announced a major business expansion. But we knew at the time, and we know even more now, that investing in our business also means investing in our community, which is why the commitment we have made to serve the underserved parts of Baltimore. And so as we open branches and expand our services, we're very focused on the parts of the community that usually get left behind. In 2020, we opened a 5,000 square foot Chase Bank branch in Cherry Hill. And as the mayor, from the first time I met the mayor, we talked about this is a community that had never had a bank branch before, and I was very pleased to host the mayor there last year. We'll be opening our first community center branch in West Baltimore later this year. These are larger branches which are there to provide financial support and counseling to the community, to individuals, to families, to small businesses, programs to help them get on their feet and prepare for their financial future. And our work cannot end there. As our boss, our chairman and CEO, Jamie Dimon, likes to remind us, when Chase comes into a community, we roll in with everything we have. And we reflect a lot, and we talk to the community a lot about what we're learning and what works and what's important to a particular community, and how do we have the greatest impact and drive the most equitable growth we can across this region. So it means a continued focus on expanding access to capital, increasing access to affordable housing and home ownership, collaborating with companies and policymakers and community organizations to create lasting change. So today I'm here for a couple reasons: to share how we are applying these lessons. And one of the ways we're applying them throughout this region is a new $75 million philanthropic commitment in this region. Specifically, $20 million of this commitment will be invested right here in Baltimore to expand economic opportunity and affordable housing for residents of this city. One of the most important lessons we've learned, an area I know that the mayor and his administration are very focused on, is the need to invest in women of color. The women of color are key drivers of household economic mobility in so many communities, including here in Baltimore, and investing in them is one of the most important ways we can address the racial wealth divide. We have an Advancing Cities Challenge, another reason we're here today. This is an annual competition that looks to community-based collaboratives all over the country, and we entertain proposals for how they will drive change in their community. Last year, the Advancing Cities program sourced proposals from all over the country, specifically focused on Black and Latino women, their families, and local economies. And I'm so pleased to thrilled to officially announce that POWER, Prioritizing Our Women's Economic Rise Collaborative, which was launched by the Latino Economic Development Center, the University of Maryland, Black Women Build Baltimore, Baltimore DC Trades, and Baltimore Community Lending, is one of 6 winners across the entire country to receive a $5 million 3-year investment. These are funds that will help create a consortium of wealth-building programs for Black, Hispanic, and Latino women in West Baltimore. And I can't emphasize enough, we looked at proposals from across the entire country. And one of the things I'm so proud about is 2 of the 6 investments, one is in Baltimore and one is in DC. We're at Martha's table yesterday morning, and you'll hear more about the specifics from my colleague Decanty Men's Clothes and Emma Reyes from LEDC. But I'm just so proud of the work that we're doing. In addition to our investment in Power, I'm also pleased. I came bearing lots of great announcements today, Mr. Mayor. This is a good day. I'm also pleased to announce an additional commitment to improving the affordability and stability of housing and home ownership in Baltimore, which tragically I think came to news. My heart goes out to everyone in Baltimore, particularly for Black, Latina, and Hispanic households. To do this, we're making an additional $2 million investment in Parity Homes to help them scale their approach to driving home ownership in neighborhoods experiencing hyper-vacancy. I just had a chance to meet Brie, which was great because Brie has become an icon in the world of J.P. Morgan. But I'm going to tell everyone what I said to you and what I said to Naya this morning and Decanty. We're investing in you because we believe in what you are doing and the hope that you're bringing to these communities. So we're so excited to partner with you and to see what you will do. And it's just an incredible thing, and you're an incredible champion for us and this community. So I just want to thank you to Brie, to all of our community partners. We come in to a community humbly and with knowing that we can't come in and tell a community what to do, but we can come in and support the kind of programs and collaborations that you all are developing, and so we're pleased to do that. The last thing I want to say is when we invest in community, and some of you know I have responsibility for overseeing all of J.P. Morgan's community investments, not only in this region, but around the country and around the world. One of the most important things we look at in making a decision is the leadership of that community. The business leadership, the community leadership, but also the government leadership. I had a chance to meet Mayor Scott the first time 3 years ago when he was president of the Baltimore City Council. And I tell you honestly, I meet with a lot of mayors around the country, and people who work with me know I walked away just so hopeful and impressed. Because one of the things he did, which few mayors do, he pulled out a map, and I said, we want to talk about neighborhoods. He goes, okay, you want to talk about neighborhoods? He pulled out a map and put it on the conference table and said, let's go neighborhood by neighborhood, because I need you to understand what we need in these neighborhoods and how we can work together. And he will listen, but he will always tell you exactly what he thinks we need to know. And that's the kind of leadership and collaboration that companies like ours look to making investment. It is in large part a testament to his leadership that we're here today. So it is a great pleasure for me to introduce your mayor, Mayor Brandon Scott. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Peter, so much. And anytime you're bringing gifts, you can come back every day, every week, every second if you like. And really, thank you for believing and betting on Baltimore. I know it means a lot to me, but more importantly, it means a lot to our community and our residents and the folks who we are going to be supporting through this work. And you said it best. If we're going to be the best version of ourselves, we know in Baltimore that we have to listen to Black and Latino women because they have been doing the work and have been bearing the brunt of it and showing us the way for a long time. So thank you and good morning, and thank you for allowing me to be here to speak about such an important and incredible announcement. I want to take a minute to, I can't see him anymore, acknowledge Councilman John Bullock, who is joining us today, Dr. Gerald from the University of Maryland, who is Baltimore is also here, but I want to start by thanking J.P. Morgan Chase for committing $75 million to close the racial wealth divide in the greater Washington region, with $20 million of that landing here in Baltimore. That is a huge thing for us, and we have to give them a round of applause for that. As you know, Baltimore was selected as one of the winners of the J.P. Morgan Chase Advancing Cities Challenge, which comes with a $5 million investment over 3 years to support the economic mobility of Black and Latino women in West Baltimore. Additionally, as you know, they've made a $2 million investment into Parity Homes, an equitable development company owned by the Power Collaborative member Brie Jones. Brie, raise your hand so everyone knows who you are, even though everyone in West Baltimore already knows who you are, to create 200 new home ownership opportunities for low-income households. And I think it's very important for me to park there for a second because of where Brie and the team are doing that. They are doing that in the neighborhood that basically overlooks the highway to nowhere. So if you're going to start to eliminate inequity and the racial wealth gap and home ownership issues in Baltimore, there is no better place to start than the place where it actually started physically, by removing and tearing down a middle-class Black neighborhood. So Brie, I've told you this before, thank you for your leadership, and thank you for betting on Baltimore. I want to congratulate each and every one of the organizations behind the Power Collaborative. So, the Latino Economic Development Center, Parity Homes, Black Women Build Baltimore. Raise your hand in the back so everyone knows who you are. Thank you for your leadership. Yeah, sometimes they might think you just got the hoodie on. We got to make sure they know that you building. Baltimore, D.C. building trades. I don't see anybody here from the trades today. Yep. Baltimore Community Lending, ma'am, thank you. University of Maryland Social Work, Deputy Mayor Leach, as always, thank you. Director Lima, our Housing Commissioner Alice Kennedy, and we have a special guest today. He doesn't get out of the office much. City Administrator Chris Shorter. Chris, wave your hand. And thank you, really, for your commitment and dedication to advancing the well-being of Black and Latino women who have been disproportionately, as we know, impacted by the economic effects of COVID-19. And please know, your work is critical, as Baltimore's largest demographic living in poverty are women between the ages of 25 and 34. I'm excited about this collaborative's efforts to increase access to entrepreneur and apprenticeship opportunities for women of color in West Baltimore. In particular, I look forward to supporting the collaborative's efforts to foster change in our current real estate development landscape. This investment will help bridge the appraisal gap and incentivize community-centric development right here on the west side, something that I know my good friend, I know he couldn't be here today, they're in session, that my good friend Antonio Hayes, our senator, has been extremely passionate about in his work, and I know he would be here if he could to celebrate this important occasion, but he is doing our work in Annapolis, fighting for our city, and for sure fighting for West Baltimore. I can bet that he's actually talking about West Baltimore right now. Your work will build on the Housing Department's existing efforts to improve Baltimore's acquisition and disposition process, and it also advance our shared vision for equitable neighborhood development across Baltimore. Please know that I and my administration look forward to your ideas and your policy recommendations needed to make the residential property acquisition and disposition process equitable, streamlined, faster, especially for small women-led development organizations like Parity and Black Women Build. Today's announcement really builds on the groundwork that the administration has laid to help our city rebound and recover from the pandemic, build back and better from our years of systematic inequity so that we can be the best version of Baltimore. As you know, back in November, we announced the creation of a $25 million economic recovery fund. In that investment, we committed approximately $12 million to the Baltimore Development Corporation to support small business relief, with a focus on providing a lifeline to the city's local small businesses, particularly Black, brown, and women-owned businesses in Baltimore. And through the Civic Fund, a $8.3 million investment that will aid more than 300 nonprofit organizations, and we will again prioritize minority and women-led organizations as they serve Baltimore's most underserved residents. We are also here in West Baltimore. We have invested $35 million to close the digital divide, not bridge it, close the digital divide with a strong focus on our residents and neighborhoods here in West Baltimore. And $30 million to expand workforce development for youth and disadvantaged job seekers. Together, in addition to the announcement today, these investments will ensure we emerge stronger and better as a city. But we cannot emerge as a stronger community if we do not invest in the economic well-being of Black and Latino women. We know that Black and Latino women oftentimes are the glue that holds our families together and our communities together. And as I said earlier, and I'll say it again, if you want to see how to do it in Baltimore, follow Black and Latino women. They have been on the front lines, on the back line of every line of this pandemic as caregivers, frontline workers, business owners, the folks who are delivering food to their neighbors. That's who's doing it in Baltimore, and we have to support them and lift them up. That is why I'm so excited about J.P. Morgan's investment in the Black and Latino women of West Baltimore through Power. And together, we will make Baltimore a more vibrant, more equitable, more diverse, and a stronger city. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Scott, for your leadership, your vision, and partnership. We're so excited about this expanded partnership in the city. Good morning. My name is Deccan T. Menscole. I serve as the Vice President for the Mid-Atlantic for J.P. Morgan Chase, and I lead our strategic grant making in the region. I'm incredibly grateful and excited about today, and incredibly grateful for folks in person because I know it's cold, so I won't keep you long. We are excited about today's announcement to support the Power Collaborative, as well as the additional dollars that are going towards Parity Homes. It will really deepen the bench of community-focused developers and women that are equipped with the skills to really transform this community, doing work that they have done well before we arrived. I've had the benefit and the pleasure of knowing a number of the nonprofits that we're working with through the Power Collaborative, and I'm excited about some of our new partnerships as well. And I can tell you that their work has shifted the way that we show up and how we invest our philanthropy in this region. This announcement could not have happened without you. The strategy, the thinking of how we're investing $75 million regionally, $20 million of that in Baltimore, and how we're showing up differently and with greater intention to invest in Black women and Latinas is because of your work. And I wanted to just give a shout out to Brie Jones. I don't know where she ran to, because you know, I met you back in 2018. When you were just starting Parity Homes, and connected you with one of the programs that we support known as the Entrepreneurs of Color Fund. And you know, you from the outset had a different vision of how to show up in this community and do development. You knew that you wanted to not just raise the wealth and support your project, you were really focused on building the asset wealth of this community. And like many Black women and Latinas, you didn't just seek out a solution for your project, you sought out a solution for the state, for this city, and pushing systemic change through legislation to address the pay appraisal gap, recognizing that many of our communities are undervalued, and that value does not allow for people of color to build wealth through home ownership, which is desperately needed to address the racial wealth divide in this region. Brie, I don't know if you know, but you shifted the way that we show up in corporate responsibility across the board. You helped us to think about our policy strategy differently, how our employees engage with our nonprofits through skilled volunteerism. And I look forward to working with you and with all of our partners and following along, because it is your guidance that is helping us to have that impact. And with that, I would like to introduce to the stage, or invite to the stage, Deputy Mayor Leach, who's just a great leader and inspiration to this work as well.
All right. All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Faith Leach, and I serve as the Deputy Mayor of Equity, Health, and Human Services. For those of you that know me, you will understand when I say that this moment is a full circle moment for me. And it is an important moment for the Black and Latina women of West Baltimore. Before I talk about the Power Collaborative, I want to talk about being a Black woman. Being a Black woman is a joy. Being raised by, loved on, and supported by Black women is an absolute honor. But with joy and honor come great responsibility. To do all that we can to address the historic inequities that have worked to further marginalize Black and Latina women and limit our ability to create wealth. That is what today is about. It is about investing in place-based strategies to support the economic mobility of Black and Latina women. If there is one thing that I know about both Black and Latina women historically, we get the job done with limited to no resources and constant obstacles. And this pandemic is no different. Almost 2/3 of Black and Latina women and nearly half of Black women with incomes below $35,000 reported losing income at some point during the pandemic. About 1/3 of Black and Latina women missed at least one rent payment during the pandemic. In Baltimore specifically, Black women are more than half of those folks who have applied for rental assistance. The pandemic laid bare what we already knew. Every day, Black and Latina women are defying the odds to meet the needs of their families and communities with limited space to focus on opportunities to accelerate their own wealth creation. Prior to the pandemic, Black and Latina women and their families in Baltimore faced extraordinary odds. 66% of Black and Latina households lived in liquid asset poverty. 66%. The largest demographic, as the mayor talked about, are women aged 25 to 54. 59% are cost burden renters, and 32% of Black Baltimoreans have zero net worth, and only about 13% of Black Baltimoreans finish college. West Baltimore leads the city, the state, and the nation in poor economic outcomes, especially for women-led households. This investment by J.P. Morgan in West Baltimore comes at an inflection point for our city. With the influx of federal resources, continued support from our philanthropic community and anchor institutions, with the support of grassroots Black and Latina women-led organizations in West Baltimore, we have all that we need right here to shift the trajectory of not just Black and Latina women, but for their families and for the greater community. That's the vision behind Power. We plan to leverage the assets of West Baltimore to strengthen wealth building pathways for asset-limited, income-constrained, employed Black and Latina women. These pathways will be across 3 main accelerators: small business development, skills training in high-demand industries like the construction trades, and affordable real estate development and home ownership. We want to support Black and Latina women as they rebuild their own communities. By providing training in these key areas, direct support to grow women entrepreneurs, and by supporting a specific sector of high growth and high impact women entrepreneurs, affordable housing developers, we can create a continuum of wealth building right here in West Baltimore. But new programs alone aren't enough. Our collaborative will focus on changing the systems that have contributed to the physical conditions that lead to poor health outcomes and limit the economic mobility of Black and Latina women in West Baltimore. We will work closely with the Department of Housing and Community Development to reform the city's acquisition and disposition process, and We will pilot innovative financing tools, including providing grants to help close the appraisal gap, a persistent barrier in redeveloping historically redline neighborhoods like West Baltimore. We got a lot to do over the next 3 years. I do want to take a moment to acknowledge my fearless partner in the work, Ms. Catalina Rodriguez Lima. Without her leadership and coordination, we would not be standing here today. So thank you so much, Catalina. I also want to thank my other partners in this work and give a special shout out to Brie from Parity Homes, who's gotten a lot of love today. And I also want to shout out my friend Shelly from Black Women Build and the folks over at LEDC. Thank you for taking my random phone calls, but most importantly, I want to thank you for ensuring that the voices of Black and Latino women weren't just centered, they were elevated in this collaborative. Finally, thank you to Mayor Scott, to JP Morgan, and the full power team who the mayor's already named, all of the team. Thank you for believing that we could do this. Not for, but with West Baltimore leading the way as a national model of equitable community development led by Black and Latino women. Thank you.
Buenos dias. My name is Emmy Reyes. I am the CEO and Executive Director of the Latino Economic Development Center. So sorry. Thank you. I'd like to thank Vice President Mentz-Cole and Vice Chairman Scher for the introduction and the welcome remarks on this initiative. Thank you, Mayor Scott and Deputy Mayor Leach, for your support and for honoring us with your presence today. Thank you to all our partners in the West Rising Baltimore Collaborative for collaborating with us on this project. Thank you to everyone here today and for those listening to us online as we embark on this mission in the city of Baltimore. And finally, a very special thank you to JP Morgan Chase for this opportunity and for trusting us and our partners. Without your funding and support, I wouldn't be in front of you today on this very chilly January morning in Kirby Lane Park talking about our plans in West Baltimore. One of the main reasons we sought to be gathered here at Kirby Lane Park, besides torching you all with this weather, was for everyone present to witness the power of a neighborhood holds when it comes together to rebuild a piece of land that was abandoned and turning it into a solace for everyone. As we can witness here today, not only does this park serve as a place for community engagement, but it also promotes a deep sense of hope and encourages pride in the residents that preserve it. And therefore, we chose Kirby Lane Park to serve as an example of the positive change people can create when a community invests in themselves. This park emphatically mirrors what LEDC and its partners seek to achieve through the Power Initiative. To inherently promote positive change in West Baltimore by helping Black and Latino women increase their wealth and opportunities within their own vicinity. As a woman myself responsible for leading an organization, I understand the potential we women harness and how we can use it as a force for good and a source for real change within our communities. I am very excited that JP Morgan Chase has chosen to trust LEDC and all of our partners involved with this initiative. With Power, we seek to prioritize women's economic growth in the 21223 zip code and the surrounding neighborhoods, all of which have an expanding Latino population that struggles to make ends meet. We are precisely looking to help Black and Latino women who are cost-burdened renters and where 2 of 3 households live in liquid asset poverty. Our hope with Power is to create a continuum of wealth building and contribute to a safe, healthy, and thriving West Baltimore. We can achieve this by providing the appropriate tools, such as technical assistance, access to capital, technological resources, as well as wraparound support for these women to assist them as they seek to rebuild the zip code concretely from the ground up. We seek to accomplish this across 3 leading accelerators: the Small Business Incubator and Accelerator programs, skills training in high-growth, non-traditional occupational sectors, such as constructional trades, technology, affordable real estate development, sorry about that, and through accessible and financing and grant funding to develop affordable homes in West Baltimore, addressing the appraisal gap. Through the support of industry experts, institutions, community-based organizations, and the city and state government's willingness to achieve this mission, we are going to create the reforms needed to make the vacant housing acquisition and disposition process more equitable and streamlined. We will also strengthen the entrepreneurial and workforce development ecosystem by providing technical assistance and incentives to create worker-owned organizations and cooperatives that will increase the opportunities for women to build wealth, support each other, and become leaders in this community. During this 3-year project, we will serve 200 women through our entrepreneurship programs, including real estate development apprenticeships. In partnership with Baltimore Community Lending, we will deploy small business loans totaling more than $3.5 million to over 170 women-owned businesses that include lines of credit for small real estate developers and a subsidy pool to help redevelop 20 properties in West Baltimore. And with this, provide a proof of concept of the appraisal gap legislation. Our partners from Black Women Build Baltimore and Baltimore DC Builds Trades, we will train over 50 women in construction trades, such as carpentry, electrical, and plumbing, by restoring vacant and deteriorated houses in West Baltimore, and provide access to a large network of on-the-job training employment opportunities. Finally, our partner, Bite Back, will help us bridge the digital divide by providing inclusive training that leads to living wage tech and tech-adjacent careers. To make sure that women will thrive in a just, cooperative, and supportive environment, in the long run, we seek to create even more women-led companies that will create more jobs in hiring and developing professional potential of other women, which will reduce the wealth gap in our communities. Let's ensure the foundation of a more robust West Baltimore community led by women in the real estate environment, where you don't necessarily expect women, particularly Black and Latino women. Thank you again for joining us today as we look forward to empowering these women and for this model to serve as a compelling example to replicate an example. Next, I'd like to invite to the stage, I think our most popular candidate today, Ms. Brie Jones, founder and CEO of Parity Homes, who is also a beneficiary of the collaborative, as well as an affordable housing advocate. Thank you.
All right. Good morning, everybody. I'm not the best speech giver, and with this cold, it's not helping. If you see some, snot dripping down, just ignore that. But we'll do our best. All right. So I'd like to start by thanking J.P. Morgan for using its place of power to be a market shifter, and for reaffirming that closing the racial wealth disparity should be a national priority of the utmost importance. I'd also like to thank my friends and partners in the Scott administration, the Housing Department, the Comptroller's Office, and all of the partners in the Advancing Cities Collaborative, LEDC, University of Maryland, Black Women Build Baltimore, the Baltimore DC Building Trades, and Baltimore Community Lending. Sorry, y'all. It's tough out here. Okay. Thank you for believing in me as a leader and for believing in Parity. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Brie Jones. I started Parity about 3 years ago with the belief that neighborhoods like the ones we're standing here in today, despite their boarded up windows and the broken glass, that these neighborhoods are intrinsically valuable. Even when bank appraisals say that these homes are worth less than the cost to build them, and even when big developers say that these places are undesirable, and when pundits say that these places are hopeless, Parity appeals to the person, to the community who says, no, these spaces are sacred, they are valuable, and they are worth redeeming. What makes Parity unique is that we're tapping into this group of folks who see the intrinsic value of these spaces and who are committing to buying homes together on blocks experiencing hypervacancy. So instead of us renovating a single abandoned building and trying to sell it on the open market via Zillow, for example,
We're instead nurturing an organic social group we call the Collective to revitalize our neighborhoods using social capital. Our collective has worked together meticulously for 3 years to build momentum, to build hope, and to build power. I'm standing behind this podium not because of my individual efforts or intellect, but because dozens of people believed in something larger than themselves. So why is this investment by JP Morgan so important? With this funding, Parity will be able to create 4 new job opportunities and grow our team so that we can keep pace with the overflowing demand that we have for our homes. So as a plug, go to our website and check out those job opportunities and apply if you're interested. But also with the JP Morgan investment, we're holding ourselves to the audacious goal of creating 200 new Black and Latina homeowners in West Baltimore. And to build those 200 homes, we're committed to increasing the pipeline of Baltimoreans that enter the construction trades. With these funds, we'll serve as a pilot and as a model for equitable development, not only across the city, but across the nation. And this investment has real implications for people like Jamar, who has been in our collective since 2019. Jamar was born and raised in Baltimore, but his family, like so many others across the city, lost their family home due to financial hardship. Jamar wants to be intentional about buying a home with Parity in West Baltimore as a means of healing that intergenerational loss that he experienced and having an asset that he can pass along to those who come after him. Or Tara, who was born and raised in Harlem Park. When the neighborhood began to fall into decline and disrepair a few decades ago, her mother moved them to another neighborhood across town for more opportunity when Tara was still just a teenager. Now that she's an adult with teenage children of her own, she wants to come back home. She wants to buy a home with Parity and be part of the solution, to be a part of the efforts to restore the community that raised her. Or lastly, Miss Arlene, who was also born and raised in Harlem Park and owns her home there. She's been a fearless leader and steward of the community for decades. But despite her calls and the calls of so many others for public-private partnership, West Baltimore has been largely ignored by major institutions and passed over for major investment. But with the investment today made by JP Morgan, Ms. Arlene, I hope that you see that your efforts have not been in vain and your vision for a healthy West Baltimore is right on the horizon. So with that said, I'd like to just thank and recognize a few folks who made this public-private partnership possible. First, I have to show love to Senator Antonio Hayes, who continues to prove himself to be a true champion for the people. He's moving the legislative agenda forward on equitable development in so many ways, and I'm proud to call him friend. As you all know, we were able to pass legislation around the appraisal gap, and I'm looking forward to seeing that bill appropriated with funds this year. It'll be an absolute game changer for narrowing the racial wealth disparity by creating Black and brown homeowners across the state of Maryland. I also want to thank Commissioner Kennedy, who has been a true partner through and through. DHCD, under the direction of Commissioner Kennedy, has already begun to implement innovative new technologies to make the disposition of city-owned properties more efficient. But more important, her team has been unrolling the technology with an equity focus. They're calling Black and brown neighborhood developers and community advocates to the table to ensure that those who have been historically disinvested in Baltimore City have a voice and that historic harms are addressed and healed. I'm also so encouraged that the Comptroller's Office and the Department of Real Estate have been undergoing a similar process evaluation. And I really believe that with the support of JP Morgan Chase, as well as federal ARPA funds, I'm encouraged that the city will now have the resources it needs to be catalytic in its acquisition and disposition of vacant and abandoned properties in Baltimore's Black Butterfly in a way that creates wealth building opportunities, home ownership, and agency within Black communities. All right, so we're in the home stretch. I'm closing out now. So $2 million is absolutely catalytic for an emerging organization like Parity. This is a game changer for us. And yet it's still just a fraction of the scale of investment needed to match the scale of the problem that's been created by systemic racism. And so let this be a clear rallying call for other large institutions like JP Morgan Chase to mobilize catalytic capital. The future of Baltimore is here, right here where we stand. The key to a healthy city is in revitalizing Baltimore's most precious neighborhoods. It's in restoring the Black butterfly. I welcome conversations with other institutional players who are already doing great work and who are ready to up the ante. When corporations think about their futures and their returns, as it pertains to Baltimore City and the region, it cannot be separated from the future and success of the Black butterfly. And so, in closing, I want to end by acknowledging other amazing organizations doing transformative work throughout Baltimore City. I want to acknowledge Nika Namdi of Flight by Blight Beemore, John Kern of the SOS Fund, Lady Breon and the Black Arts and Entertainment District, Cole and Aisha of Brioxy, Shelley of Black Women Build Baltimore, Jamie Wooten of Collectively, Candace Chance of VPI Firm, Dr. Heber Brown of the Black Church Food Security Network, Atia Wells of Bliss Meadow, and there are so many more. That's just a fraction of all the amazing people doing amazing work in Baltimore City. Thank you again to JP Morgan Chase. Thank you to Black women like Deccan T, Naya, and Deputy Mayor Leach for holding the door open for other Black women. The work is just beginning. Thank you.
We'd just like to thank again everyone for joining us here today and for your interest in power and what LEDC seeks to accomplish in the region with its partners, precisely as we seek to provide support with the help of JP Morgan Chase in neighborhoods where minorities, and particularly women, have felt the negative impact of COVID. We are incredibly grateful to everyone who joined us online, proving that we are in the right direction as we embark on this equity and wealth building mission for Black and Latina women in West Baltimore. Again, I'm optimistic about what the future holds for these women and their households, and I am confident in their initiative as well as you are. To learn more about the program, you can visit us at ledcmetro.org/power. Once again, thank you everyone for joining us, and I hope that everyone finds a much warmer space very quickly. Thank you.